Hey there, this is Learning with Mr. Q. This video is part of a series on the 4th grade FSA Math Practice Test questions. You can find these questions in the link provided in the description box below, or you can just do a Google search, type 4th grade FSA Math Practice questions. You should be able to find them pretty easy. So here we're looking at question number 22. It's a challenging question because there's just a lot of information, and you really got to stay focused as you're reading through it. And it's really kind of like a two-part question because there's two sections that we want to answer, right? So you want to make sure that you answer both sections. The first one is giving an answer, and the second part is the reason why. See, it says because, right? So we're going to give the reason why we chose that answer. All right, so let's go ahead and look through it. We'll do it together. So a pattern starts with one triangle and follows the rule: add one triangle to the left, add one triangle to the, add one triangle to the top, add one triangle to the left, and one triangle to the right. The first three figures of for the pattern are shown. All right, and so what we see here is we got one triangle that we start with, and then we just add three more all the way around it, one to the top, one to the left, and one to the right. All right, so that center one is always there. We can see it moving from the first, second, and third figure. Now we can see those red triangles that appeared in figure 2 also now continue as we move to the next figure, which is figure 3. Right? But then what we did was add three more. One on the top, one to the left, and then one to the right. Okay? Now it says, complete the statement to describe the fourth figure. And so what I recommend is that you actually create the fourth figure. So I start with the first triangle from figure 1, then I add one to the top, one to the left, one to the right. That's figure 2. Then I do it again for figure 3, one to the top, one to the left, one to the right. Now for figure 4, I want to continue that pattern. One to the top, one to the right or left, and one to the right. All right, so now for each box, fill in the bubbles before the word or phrase that is correct. So let's just start by looking at that next sentence. The fourth figure for the pattern will have an even or odd number of triangles. So now all you do is just count the triangles. Now a good idea is just to mark it as you're counting. That way you don't count it more than once, or you don't forget to count it. So just mark it as you count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 is an even number, so we can mark that as even. And now we're going to look for the because, the reason why. So A says adding an even number to an even number will always equal an even number. B is adding an even number to an even number will always equal an odd number. C is adding an odd number to an odd number will always equal an even number. And then the last choice says adding an odd number to an odd number will always equal an odd number. Now, this question can be tricky, not only because there's a lot of information, but sometimes when you look at these reasons why down here in this box, you might get an answer that has a true statement. You might have more than one true statement, but the reason why it's tricky is because you'll see one that might be true and you say, oh, that has to be the answer. But it has to be the reason why you picked the answer on top of it, right? So the fourth figure is even. Now we're trying to figure out, well, why is it even? Well, let's look at figure 3. Figure 3 has a total of, so let's go ahead and count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 numbers. So or 7 triangle, that's an odd number. And we're going to add 3 more triangles to get to figure 4. That's what we did right over here, right? We added 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Well, that's also an odd number. So here's what we're focusing on. If I add an odd number with an odd number, so it can't be A because they're talking about even and even. That's not what we're focusing on here. It can't be B because it says even to even. So now it's either C or D because they have odd, and then letter D says odd and odd, right? So that's what we're focusing on. So let's see what happens. If we add odd plus odd, it equals 10. That's an even number. All right. So let's see if that pattern is true. If I were to try that with another odd number, right? So 9 plus 9 plus 1. Well, odd plus odd, well, that equals 10. If I do that again, maybe 5 plus 7. 5 plus 7, those are two odd numbers. That equals 12. That's an even number. And if I were to continue that pattern with any odd number plus another odd number, it's going to always equal an even number. So that's the reason why when we look at figure 4, it ends up with 10, because we went from, in figure 3, an odd number, added 3 more, that's another odd number. So it has to equal an even number. And so if we're looking at our answer choices, that's going to be letter D. Excuse me, not letter D, letter C. Adding an odd number to an odd number will always equal an even number. Okay? So when you get to this question, these types of questions, be careful that you're not just looking for a true statement here in this section. You want to look for the true statement that kind of proves the answer you chose, right? So I hope that helps. Thank you so much for watching Learning with Mr. Q.